TJ Malone, thanks for joining us on the road to resilience. We appreciate you being here today, brother.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, so we already started talking. We're already going deep in a lot of topics. So I want to spin it around for a second and start back up with your gratitude. So tell me about, we were just talking about your gratitude journal. So tell me, let's start back with that again.
Sure.
So tell me, like, how did you come about that, and like, where do you go with your gratitude?
So the way I started my gratitude journal was Carl Olson was our sports performance psychologist at Penn State. He just retired, but when I was going through my injuries, we can get into more detail about that later.
Back to those.
Yeah, and it was a really low point, and Carl had me start, amongst other things, but had me start journaling, and specifically, he wanted me to journal about gratitude. Wanted me to journal about things that I can do versus can't do with my injuries, and just constantly writing those down daily. Try to change them up so you're not saying the same things you're grateful for, or you're saying you can do the same thing. So always try to find new things, and that honestly changed my life. And slowly but surely, I started getting better. I finally got the help I needed to see. I got my hip surgeries. I had sports hernia surgery. And all those things actually, I think, helped me, you know? And so it turned like the darkness into light just from those small daily habits. Wow. And so now today I still journal every night. Wow. It's more extensive. I've added some things. I've removed some things that I liked, that didn't like. But the gratitude is one that stayed the whole time.
That's great.
And so at night, as I was telling you, I write down everything I'm grateful for. I have a lot of repeat offenders, like my health, just being unhealthy for so long or injured. I am grateful daily for my health. So that is always my mentally and physically. I put my health. I'm just so thankful for that. But there's other things that happen throughout the day that I just write. I'm thankful for. I'm great. And not even in complete sense. It's just listing it down before I go to bed. I'll journal about some other things, and then go to bed in a good mindset, like we were just talking about, getting your brain relaxed and fall faster into deep sleep. And then in the morning, I'll get up and I'll do just 3 things I'm grateful for. Could be about the day coming up, could be about the day yesterday, could be about that present moment, just the sunrise or whatever, the birds chirping. And those are just kind of how I bookend my days. The first, like we talked about, right when you get up and right when you go to bed.
Oh, I got to stop you that the bird's chirping. I like where you're right in the moment with it. You're not even just, hey, where I'm going here. It's like right now.
Oh, yeah.
Like I'm listening to this. Like everything you're talking about, you're super intentional. So if people are watching, they don't know. You just walk through this place and eyeballed everything in here, had a comment. Hey, I noticed this is a little off. This is a little this. You're down. You're noticing all the details, man. You're a hyper-intentional guy. That's super cool.
I appreciate that. Sometimes I'm a little spacey. Sometimes I get too deep into a thought or in the weeds that I'm like, what is going on? So I definitely need to balance some things. Right. But yeah, I have that personality, I think.
Yeah, but that's cool. And your gratitude, bring it back. I don't want to derail you on your gratitude. So you find all these spots. You really pull that in. How about throughout your day? You find that you're touching back on any of that stuff? How does that work for you during the day?
Yeah, I think if I just start my day really well, it'll carry over through the rest of the day. I don't intentionally think about things I'm grateful for necessarily, but I don't think I have to, because I think I go through the day very thankful for things, very grateful for things that just pop up. And if you're looking for it and you're ready, things will pop up that you're like, wow, that was God right there. Yeah. God put this person in my life like right now for a reason. And if you're not in that right frame of mind, you're not going to be able to see those things. And so, coupled with my gratitude journal, I pray before I go to bed every night, before I journal, and I pray in the mornings as well. So that's cool, it's just kind of that paired with the gratitude. One of my favorite things, like from the Bible, is just thankful, like the 2 T's, thankfulness and trust. So if I can just get into those right frames of mind right before I go to bed and right when I get up, it's gonna set me up for the rest of the day.
So, and it's funny, I'm gonna hop back into our faith. From Scripture, it's a believing trust. That word faith is like it's deeper than just, well, I think it's going to work out. It's a believing trust that these things will happen. I like that you dig into that idea, and but it's like what you said. I think it's like planting those seeds in your brain, and then they just kind of grow throughout the day. They're just there.
Yeah.
You're present with it.
That's a
What
good way to
happens
put
when
it.
you get
Yeah.
derailed? Are there things that derail T.J. Malone during the day, and you're like, how do you reset?
That's a great question. Just to go off before we leave that point was, that I like what you were describing. I describe as like childlike faith. That's in the Bible. I love that. That just hits home for me because I think of a kid, like a baby. They have all the faith in the world because they know nothing.
Right.
And the more we know, the more
you don't know.
Yeah, exactly. So, but sometimes when people know more, their ego gets involved and they forget how much they don't know.
Yeah.
So that childlike faith kind of puts you back where
Yeah.
we don't know anything.
Right. Well, I'm going to do one more before we move off.
Yeah,
This
yeah.
is a good one. We're going to stay here for one more second, and you can keep going. I love in the Beatitudes in the Sermon on the Mount, he starts with, blessed are those who are the poor in spirit.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I'm like, somebody's like, don't start with the negative. I'm like, well, Jesus started with the negative. But what he was saying was, it's that knowing that wherever it is, there's always more to go. I need more, and being conscious of it and the striving. Because once I realized when you have enough of something, you're not really paying attention to it.
Yeah.
But when you don't have enough, you're searching for it. You want it in your life.
Exactly.
Right? So blessed are those who are poor in spirit, because those are the ones who are going to be searching for it.
Mm-hmm.
So that childlike faith, it's that same kind of idea. So I love that. I love that you're there, man. That's super dope, brother. Yeah.
Yeah.
So keep going, man. I love that.
Appreciate it. So what was the question about the
Doesn't matter anymore, right? Let's just stay here now. So when you
something
get
that can
derailed,
derail me.
yeah.
That's a good question. Man, I used to get derailed a lot more than I do now.
Right.
I remember when I was injured, a lot of things would derail me, just because I don't. I'm always been growing in my faith. It's from where I am now to where I was 5 years ago is not even close.
Right.
So I think I have more tools to deal with when I get derailed. But something that helps me is just breathing.
Yeah.
Like in breath work, like the Andrew Huberman. I love his breath work. It's so simple.
We don't owe him any money for this podcast, by the way.
So I wear the Whoop.
Yeah, I just took mine off.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
You charging it or something?
No, it was just more of like just not having it here. Yeah, it's aesthetic. I hate to say it. I just took it off.
Got it. And on the Whoop, he's integrated with the Whoop now.
Yes, I
and
know.
He's got the breathing. It's so simple. It's like you take a deep breath in, then you breathe a little bit more, and then you just release everything.
Right.
And that just slows your heart rate down a ton.
Yeah.
And I don't know the science behind it, but it just relaxes you. So I think when I get derailed, just trying to breathe, and then also just try to step back and see the whole picture versus you can get so in the weeds.
Yeah.
But sometimes you just need to step back, and I can't believe I'm saying this again, but this is another Jocko quote that I heard on the Andrew Huberman podcast with
Wait, can you say Andrew Huberman again?
Andrew Huberman.
Yeah, there you go. So I just want to ask it one more time. Shout out.
Just because I haven't said it enough.
Yeah.
But so basically, he talked about how Andrew Huberman talked about taking a step back scientifically and the benefits of it to kind of get out of the present moment and see everything from a 30,000-foot view. And then Jocko echoed that belief, but not like with any science. Just echoed it from his experience in the Navy SEALs was when they're in a firefight, the person that can step away from their gun and not see into the aiming,
The scope.
The scope.
Yeah.
If you can step away from the scope and look around, those people have a lot more success than people that are just all scoped in the entire time just because they can see the whole picture.
So what we want to do and we talk about in our program is, it's funny, the earlier version of our program, we work with first responders. We call that the tactical pause.
Mm-hmm. Oh, okay.
So we take a tactical pause. Yeah. So at 9/11, the buildings come down. The worst, one of the worst things we've seen in my lifetime, in your lifetime. For FDNY firefighters, 300 of their brothers are now down. Right, and sisters, and they regrouped, and the guy took everybody. Okay, whoever's left, everyone come here. I want everyone to pause for a second. Like the most critical moment, buildings have come down, things are exploding. He's like, I want everyone to pause and take a knee for 2 minutes. Let's remember the folks that aren't here. Take a breath, Now stand up and let's get going again. So the
Wow.
biggest thing he did was have those guys step back because we have to and then he started to reorganize all the truckies here, all the engine guys here. So reorganized everybody because sometimes you get caught in the mix. And I think it's really important in our program. That's our big thing is the pause. And where I want to pause when I get derailed, I channel my gratitude. Well, who am I grateful for? And I pause, just take that deep breath. Who am I grateful for? Right. This is why I'm doing this. I'm okay. And I kind of reinsert back in that moment. My job is to be a man of character, right? I'm okay. So that's how we reset is around that tactical pause.
Powerful.
It can be, it is, but I think for all of us, the problem is because we can have it, we just get sucked in that spiral, and we don't realize we're in it, right?
Yeah, that's a good point.
And so I think coming out of it is that just brings your intention. Whatever way you can kind of pull yourself out, that brings your intention. So I love how you're doing it. What Huberman is saying is that ability to step back.
Yeah.
You know?
Same exact thing. It's funny that they talk about that scientifically in the Navy SEALs and now in the firefighters. There's clues there, like success leaves clues.
Right.
So the fact that they did that before 9/11 or during 9/11 proves that it works. So
at the most
you
critical time,
better listen up. Yeah.
Better listen up. So, and that's one of the reasons you're here, because what we want for kids to be impactful is T.J. Malone. He wasn't hatched in a lab. He's a kid who had problems just like you have problems. He grew up just like you grew up. But he's learned techniques to overcome those problems and to bring bring attention back into his moments. That's what we're talking about, being intentional. When I'm unintentional, there's more amplification in my brain. The negative amplification is far stronger than the positive. You're built for survival. So when you walked out, I'm talking about man to man. When you walked out as a kid, an earlier version of you, thousand years ago, you were low down on the food chain. And we were out, I'm like, hey, I feel pretty confident I can take on that saber-toothed tiger.
Yeah.
That's not good. Your brain's like, no, we want you to be upset. We want you to be concerned. Being happy and being docile is not going to help you survive. So there's mechanisms that are intrinsic in the programming. And once we're aware of it, okay, now I can gratitude. I just want to come behind and like put the exclamation point on what you're saying because they're powerful. And I can think about it. I can think about all the reasons. I can be present. It's just the birds chirping. You know, just walking out and getting that sunshine. You were talking about that earlier. That's one of your other morning routines.
Yep.
I think that's great because it's intentional. It pulls you into the now, not somewhere else. And it moves you beyond your limiting thoughts. Our brain's thoughts can be limiting. But when I'm connected to other people, all of a sudden I can kind of move beyond myself.
Totally. Yeah, something that to go off that I heard or read somewhere that was really cool was, you know, humans are the only animals on the planet that can have that ability to think forward and think ahead. But often that's a huge advantage for us, but it can be a huge negative too.
Right.
It's a double-edged sword because it can help us plan for a better future, but it can also get us sucked into, you know, anxious thoughts about the future instead of being where God wants us, right in the present.
Right.
And so, like, I think I've read that in a Jesus Calling, like a daily devotion.
Yeah, Jesus Calling.
It's really good. So my it's always on our kitchen table.
Right.
Every morning growing up, we would read that before eating breakfast, before going to school. So. Right.
Well, just right here, it says, you know, understanding your story in terms of a larger story, because oftentimes we're trapped in our story. Oh, whatever time you T.J. Malone, I want to get into a story about how you move through, you know, the things that you're suffering, but realizing that we all are on a suffering path. Yep. That's how it happens. I think but if you approach it the right way, that suffering actually leads to resurrection, essentially. And there's a story, right? And I look around because we've removed ourselves from the need to have to get food. Oh, there's a Sheetz around the corner, or Philly is a Wawa. Shout out to Wawa.
Yes.
You know.
Shout out to Wawa.
But it's right around the corner. I don't need food. I don't have to worry about food. But we think so. We've risen above what's really going on in the world. But when you look out, there's just a suffering path for everybody, right? But so anyway, understanding that and re-engaging with that, and I think is important for us. And I'm going to kind of bring it back to the main point here, is for you, like you're realizing in your faith, you're realizing you're part of a larger story. Right? So it helps you make sense of what's happening. And there's other ways to do it for other people who might not be religious. But I want to come back to your setbacks because your story is pretty interesting. to where you started, where you're like, how you even got recruited out of high school. Like, meh, you weren't on the tops of the list.
Definitely not.
But then where you showed up, and then you had some injuries, and then had to fight through those to show back up again. Can you talk to us a little bit about that?
Sure. So I'll just start right chronologically, from the
please.
beginning was, so I wasn't recruited at all. I was committed to Division III school, Amherst College, my senior year. And it's funny, my license when I was 16 and a half says 5'4" on it. Because that was my height when I was 16 and a half and I got my license.
Right.
And I was driving around. People were like, looking at me. So that's like give you a story of how small I was. That's how short I was.
How tall are you right now?
About 6 feet.
Wow. Let's go. Okay.
I say 6 feet, probably 5'11".
We'll give you 6 feet. Nobody knows.
They'll take it.
With the afro.
With the shoes, too.
Yeah. Okay.
But so very wasn't recruited at all. I fell in love with the game of lacrosse, and I would play wall ball in the mornings. I went to the Havard School, but I'm from Unionville. So I drove over 45 minutes to school every morning. And so I would leave early to beat traffic.
So the Havard School is right outside of Philadelphia, for those who don't know.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And so there's traffic going into school every morning. So I would leave in the mornings around like 6:15 to beat traffic and get to school around 7. And then I would play wall ball from 7:15 to around 8, and school started at 8. So some of my friends that lived close by would show up to school right at 8:30.
Wow.
But I was out there in the morning with my coach. Coach Patron changed the trajectory of my life.
Shout out to Coach Patron.
Yeah.
There you go.
And so he would be out there with his kids on the wall at 7:15 every morning. He would open up the school for us. We'd get in and get our stuff. In the winters, we'd go into the gym, the basketball gym. Anytime else, we'd go outside, play on the wall right by the field. And he would be with his kids. They'd be playing football, basketball, anything.
Right.
They'd just be running around.
Right.
And he would just give us pointers. He'd be like, all right, today, 50 right hand, 50 left hand, and then tell me when you're done. I'll give you another thing to do. So his passion for the game just spoke volumes. So not only did I want to go play and impress him, but I also wanted to beat traffic. Right. So I would show up, and I would already be there. So I was like, I might as well play lacrosse. So I did that throughout my time at Haverford. So I was working really hard, but it didn't feel like hard work to me. It just felt like, all right, this is what my friends and I are doing. I made some of my best friends.
That's great.
And it was just fun. We had a good time. So little did I know I was building some really good stick skills. And so by the time I finally grew my junior and senior year, I was playing pretty well. Still wasn't very highly recruited because they changed the rules. But, I mean, when I was getting recruited, there was no age limit where you could be recruited. So in my class at Penn State, there was 3 kids that committed in 8th grade, and I didn't commit to Penn State until I graduated high school. So that's just that's a 5-year difference.
Right. Wow.
So it just like shows that.
Was Grant Amon in your class?
He was a senior when I was a freshman.
Right. Okay.
So he went to the Havard School too.
Yeah, I know he went to Havard.
Yeah, and he took me under his wing and was like a big brother to me.
Right.
And I wouldn't be at Penn State without him.
Right.
That's a whole nother story we can get into. But
I like the mentoring. I just want to pause on some of this stuff. There's mentors in your life. Your coach, Grant, other people who've like show up for you, right?
Definitely.
And that's influential. And like, because we always want to talk about for the people in our program, you're the leader in your community. We talk about courageous leaders and resilient followers. Those roles shift for people. Yeah, sometimes you're ahead and you're going to bring some people. Sometimes it's the other way around, right? So, but keep going. I just want to point that out for folks, because I think that's important.
That's a great point. Even just seeing Grant's story, he was super undersized.
Yeah.
Still is. And he also drove an hour to school.
Right.
He drove even further than me. He drove an hour to school every day to go to the Havard School, because he knew that it would give him the best chance for lacrosse.
I went to high school with his mom and dad.
Oh, did you?
Yeah.
Doylestown?
Yeah. Well, yeah, I'm from Warrington.
Oh, okay.
We went to CB East High School.
Okay, yeah,
That's
CB
where they're
East.
from,
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So keep going.
So you know that commute.
I do. That's not a straight shot either. So that's a far commute.
So seeing
but it's a
him,
dedication to do that too. Like, again, it sets you to purpose, right?
Yeah. And I have some photos of me freshman year and Grant senior year that I can show you after that are pretty funny. But just seeing him, like, all right, he's driving an hour to school, he's undersized, and he's an Under Armour All-American.
Yeah.
I can do that. maybe, like maybe not,
Right.
but it just gave that story, having the power of stories, I think is incredible, seeing
Sure.
someone that has done it and shows you that it's possible for you.
Right.
So I just had to stay the course.
Yeah.
And so, long story short, I got recruited to Penn State. I committed after during my senior year. I got recruited. I committed after I had graduated high school. So I graduated high school thinking I'm going to Amherst College. Ended up going to Penn State
Wow.
2 months later. And that's when my journey began. I coming from Division III, most people were committed since eighth grade, freshman, sophomore year. I had just committed a couple months ago.
Right.
So it was interesting to come on campus, but having Grant there helped a ton. And I remember my first practice, I was like, all right, let's see how this goes. We scrimmaged and just like roll the balls out and play. I was like, all right, well, I'm going to go and with no fear and play like I have nothing to lose.
Right.
Because I do. Like I have nothing to lose. I just got there and rolled the balls out. I ended up taking one of the fifth-year captains to the goal and scored on him. And I was like, wow, okay. I think I belong here.
Right.
So it started right away. And
you had a lot of
that
success your freshman year, though, right?
Yeah, I did. Yes.
Sorry, I didn't mean to hop ahead on you.
No, I mean, I was just a role player for Grant and Mac O'Keefe, all-time leading NCAA goal scorer. Grant has the single-season assist record in the NCAA. So
Crazy.
Two unbelievable players, and I got to play alongside those guys and just find my role in that offense. And we were the number one team in the country for most of the year and went to the Final Four, lost in the Final Four, and that actually led to my first injury. During that game, I fractured my tibia, tore my MCL and meniscus, and had to get surgery that summer. And then so rehabbed all summer.
In the Final Four game?
In the Final Four game, in the second quarter.
Wow.
Yeah. I played the rest of the game on it.
What?
Yeah. Because for how it works is like if I was getting the pull, so there's only one pull for middies. And so they didn't realize I was hurt, so I was still like distracting them somewhat with a pull, because then that means the other two middies have short sticks on them, which are usually a better matchup. So I was like, all right, I'm still getting the pull. I might as well stay in until they start switching. I'm not going to come out. So I was just limping around, but they thought I was a threat, even though I wasn't much of a threat.
Wow.
But so
it's a lot of guts to do that.
We ended up losing, so that was a bummer. But so I got surgery, and then I rehabbed all off season. Came back in the spring. I was playing the best lacrosse I'd ever played, and I thought that team was going to win a national championship. Season gets cut short because of COVID, 2020, and so we all got sent home.
Wow.
And I started having some hip problems around that time during COVID, and some lingering knee issues, just from my surgery and stuff. And eventually came back that next year. Was playing with like some hurt hips. I wasn't really sure what was going on. Just a lot of discomfort, a lot of pain. Played that whole next season during the COVID schedule, which was all Big Ten play, so it was a little different. And then, so I went back home over the summer. They said, okay, you're fine. Just do some PT. You'll be fine. And I was misdiagnosed with I had 2 torn labrums in my hips and then a sports hernia.
2 torn labrums and a sports hernia.
Yeah.
Holy smokes.
So I ended up getting surgery for all 3 of those things. And that started the point where I love the quote. It's J.K. Rowling, if you know her story at all.
Shit.
The Harry Potter.
Rock bottom is where
you have
the foundation became
rock bottom became the foundation to rebuild her life, essentially.
That's
and so
great.
Looking back on it, it's hard to connect the dots in the moment, in the present, but looking back, you can connect the dots. And I think that was, rock bottom for me, going through those surgeries and kind of being misdiagnosed, and some of my, I wasn't playing, but I didn't have a diagnosis for a lot of the year, or so a lot of people didn't know like if I was faking it or not. So there's, I felt like a little bit of a pariah on the team just because I could have been helping the team, but I wasn't playing, and we were losing some games. So I felt terrible because I wanted to play so bad and help, but I was in so much pain with my hips, and I still didn't have a diagnosis. So once I finally got diagnosed and had the surgeries, I felt a lot better, and I felt a lot more at peace. And I was like, all right, I'm ready to go. Let's go.
Right.
And so rehabbing for all that went well, and ended up getting my last surgery, my sports hernia surgery, almost a year ago today, or a year ago, 13 months ago or so, maybe even 12 months ago.
Wow.
So, and then that was my last surgery, and I ended up having a pretty good year last year. We went to the Final Four, which was pretty awesome after 2 kind of off years for our program, just to get our program back to that spot in the Final Four was pretty incredible.
Right. And didn't you win some kind of awards, or weren't you nominated as best this or greatest that or something last year? Am I missing something or no?
Yeah,
Let me hear it.
I ended up being Offensive Player of the Year for the Big Ten.
Yeah.
And
Offensive Player of the Year for Big Ten.
Yeah.
But look, because that's important. And this is for other people out there. Like, it's not like that. I like how you're like, yeah, whatever. But that's a big deal. Like, where you were, like, hey, I was out, didn't know what was going on, misdiagnosed.
Yeah, for
can only imagine what's going on in your head, right? You want to be there, people thinking he's faking it. That's a kind of a weird thing.
It was tough.
You know, you hate when people, like, that's a weird thing in sports when you say you can't go because you're questioning yourself. I just understand that to a certain extent.
Totally.
To come back and not only perform, but not only did you perform, you were Offensive Player of the Year, man. Well done, brother.
Thank you.
Done.
I appreciate it.
Yeah, that's really where you come back, and that's a great comeback story.
Thank you.
And that's just you don't need that. You don't need that for you to know where you've been, but to have somebody else say, you know what? We recognize that man's achievement. So good job.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I appreciate it.
Yeah.
And not even trying to be humble, just what helped me was, those daily habits of gratitude and prayer.
Right.
And then just being in that right mindset led me down the right path. And I don't really take many of the credits. I have a great God that just kind of paved the way for me.
Right.
And it's pretty incredible what he did and what he used me for.
Right.
I hope people kind of when they see my story, they see God.
Yeah, your example, it's the faith of others. When a man loses hope, we look for it in the face of our friends. That's what Scripture tells us. So, I love the story in Luke when those guys lower that dude in through the ceiling in front of Jesus. I always think it's funny.
The paralyzed guy, right?
Yeah, he's a paralyzed guy, but it's all crowded, right? They want to get to him, so they cut a hole.
In the
ceiling.
They
lower the guy down like a sofa, right?
Yeah.
And then Jesus looks at him and says, "You're saved." It's the faith of your friends. So what I'm saying is we don't realize what we do, how that influences other people, and how we show up for other people. On the science side, there's a thing in your body. You should look it up. It's called ATP phosphorylation. It's how energy is made in your body.
Yep.
Adenosine triphosphates. There's 3 phosphates. It's a strong bond holding these 3 phosphates together. The cell goes over, and it gives a phosphate to another cell. And what it does, it changes the shape of the other cell. So it goes from square to round so it can go roll around and do whatever it's got to do because it's roly-poly, whatever. But my point is, what happens on a micro level happens on a macro level. You give that energy to someone else. Someone seeing you doing that changes the other person. We don't see it, so we don't understand it because I don't think we're really tuned into things of a spiritual nature. If I go to Paul, set your mind on things unseen. What's he talking about? How do I set my mind on things unseen? Maybe this is what he's talking about. So it's your actions. And again, on a non-religious basis, we're just mentors. We're here to show other people the opposition to the bad is the practice of the better. I'm like, wait, is that how TJ did it? Yeah, maybe that's how I could do it too. When you were like, hey, I saw Grant doing it, maybe I could be that guy.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Totally.
I was bringing it all full circle. And like you said, connecting the dots.
Yep.
Right? So it's how we start connecting the dots and looking around, and these examples all over us. Coming back to the gratitude statement for people out there. It's being aware of what's going on. It's already happening out there.
Yep.
Right? Just tune in, and I can connect the dots in my own life. Oh, wait, I'm grateful for this, or these other things that happen. And what looks like a setback at one point, actually
it's a catapult.
It's a catapult. That becomes a foundation. The solid foundation that she said I could build the rest of my life on. That's pretty
awesome.
powerful, man. I remember reading that myself.
Yeah.
Because I was in a dark spot. I was like, oh, okay, maybe it's a different way to see it. And sometimes I think by a door getting closed, it allows the one that was open that you should have gone through, allows you to get to that door. But if I had gone through that door, I would never got over here. So it's all about how we see it. And I think, so it's not what you look at, it's what you see. Is that a problem? Or is that for us on the road to resilience? We see faith and these setbacks as opportunities. There's another opportunity for me to succeed.
Absolutely.
Pressure's a privilege. This is where I find myself in the struggle. I don't find myself drinking Mai Tais at the beach.
Yeah.
Shout out to Mai Tais. You know what I mean? Never say no to a Mai Tai. I don't know. I don't really drink a Mai Tai. I just like the sound of it. Anything with that. But my point is, it's where we find ourselves in the struggle, right? And what I want to point out to people is you found yourself dead center in the struggle to who you are right now, right?
Absolutely.
So tell me about so where are you at for this year? What's your expectation for yourself? Are you setting goals for yourself for this year?
Yeah, I definitely have some goals. So part of the reason I came back, I wasn't planning on coming back to school, but I decided to use my extra year of eligibility. And a big part of it was that I think with my story and kind of with my past history of being here, I can help kind of educate the younger guys on my team.
That's awesome.
A lot.
Right.
Just like with things I've learned. Because I've been here, I've been here again. You know, there's so many things I've learned through that journey that I hope younger guys won't have to go through.
Right.
Even simple things like hydration, nutrition, recovery, but also things more on a deeper level. And so one way I do that is I play wall ball with a lot of the younger guys. I think.
Right. I know with Jack?
I know. So
wall ball.
One of the reasons Jack and I are so close is from playing wall ball together for years.
Right.
And I just think you created such a good bond there because, you know, you're not having a deep conversation to each other's faces, which can sometimes get awkward. You know,
right.
You're just playing wall ball and you're talking on the side and you're not even sure what you're saying. You're just talking, you know, you're confiding in one of your teammates that you trust. And so I think that just helps build the bond. So right now, I think that's just a forum of one way I can, you know, kind of help educate some of my younger teammates. And one of my goals is to leave this program better than I found it, which is pretty hard to do considering I walked into a program that was number 1 in the country, went to the Final Four, and then with me on the team, we went down and we had a 4-7 season, a 4-11 season, and then last year we were back up and had a pretty good season, and going to back to the Final Four. So I'm hoping I can leave it even better than where I found it, hopefully winning a national championship.
Sure you can.
That's my biggest goal.
Yeah. So coming around the back turn of this thing, so tell me about for kids, why do you think it's important for kids to have a program like ours or a program where they're bringing their gratitude and their character and their faith into the moments?
That's a great question. I mean, I think these are necessary staples for your life. Is gratitude, faith, and character, and you'll be able to find them eventually in your lifetime if you're like introspective and you know you reflect on your life. But if you have a teacher that can help teach it to you, it's going to save you a lot of hardship and a lot of pain and a lot of regret.
Yeah, man.
So I think these lessons are free for everyone to find out on their own. But I think having a teacher like you guys provide to these kids is going to save them a whole lot of pain, a whole lot of, you know, time and regret.
You're the teacher, so I just keep including it's you. But keep going,
yeah, it's us, you know, and I'm so thankful to be here just to kind of share what I've learned, and hopefully, guys and girls that are younger, you know, are going to be able to look at my mistakes and be like, all right, I'm not going to make that anymore. He learned his lesson. Now I don't have to learn it for myself. So I think this program provides that, you know, that perspective.
Yeah. Well, TJ Malone, thanks for being a road warrior and thanks for being with us on the road to resilience. We really appreciate being here, brother.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Yeah. I'm Dave Wurtzel and I approve this message. Let's go.
Thanks, Dave.